screen. Sean B steps in where the cuts run deep. From a New York state of mind, she was born to see what gets lost in the dark, what they don't want to speak. Silk in her voice, but the questions hit hard. Pulling back the curtain, laying truth on the yard. Every hush-hush story, every shadow clue. She's piecing up the pain till the whole thing comes through. She don't chase noise, she follows the trail. When the headlines miss, she will still unveil. With a sharp-eyed soul and a heart that knows some stories need light so the healing can grow. On YouTube, tune in, let the realness ride. Like, share, subscribe, keep the truth alive. Sean B on the scene, bringing dark today, giving lost names rhythm, giving silence a say. Like, share, subscribe, let the people come through. When Sean B talks truth, baby, everybody knew. For the tears unseen and the cries turned low, she be lifting up the weight that the world let go. Every fact she finds got a purpose and pulse. Every case she touches makes the silence convulse. No cheap thrills, just grace and fire. Taking buried details higher and higher, where the whispers get drowned and the weak get missed. She's a soulful reminder they still exist. She can feel when the story ain't sitting right. So she walks through the dark just to bring back light. With that grown woman glow and pimping a flare, she's reaching for the truth 'cause it's waiting there. On YouTube, tune in, let the realness ride. Like, share, subscribe, keep the truth alive. Sean B on the scene, bringing dark today, giving lost names rhythm, giving silence a say. Like, share, subscribe, let the people come through. When Sean B talks truth, baby, everybody knew. She got that city soul, that uptown grace, and a mind that can read what time can't erase. So gather round close, let the story unfold. Some truths need a voice, some hearts need a hold, and she won't let the quiet just fade away. She's turning low, whispers into words that stay. On YouTube, tune in, let the realness ride. Let the realness ride. Like, share, subscribe, keep the truth alive. Sean B on the scene, bringing dark today, giving lost names rhythm, giving silence a say. Like, share, subscribe, let the people come through. Sean B keeps it real, and she's speaking it true. Sean B, true crime, where the hidden gets revealed, and every story matters.
Hello, my babies. How are y'all? Hello, hello, hello. Took me a minute, y'all, and listen, when I tell y'all that God sends people your way for a reason, God sends people your way for a reason. The angel that made this music for me is Kelly Kells. She has her own page, and it's food for thought. That is Kelly Kells. She's in the chat. She made this music for me. And she was in my previous live just a few minutes ago. And she heard me crashing out. And she was trying to get to me. She was, y'all. She was trying. But I had clicked off quicker than she could, you know what I mean? So she called me and she said, Sean B. Wusa. She said, we're all going to get this together. And she had the patience of a saint. Because if it's one thing I don't like, y'all, are computers. I don't. I don't like computers. They are of Satan. Just say it. But y'all, when I tell y'all that I could not have done this live and all the ones to follow without Kells, the way that I want to do it. My intentions are truly to master this whole setup. My intentions are to be as professional. And with that, you have to have, in my opinion, the right tools in order to be professional. I just don't have the temperament for it, right? I just don't have the patience. And when it wasn't going right, I'm like, listen, I could go from my phone and I'd be just fine. But nope, Kells would not let me give up. And I am so grateful and appreciative of Kelly Kells. Y'all make sure y'all go over and support Food for Thought. Y'all make sure y'all go over and visit her page. She is a professional chef, but she also is a beast with this computer stuff and with the music. She made both of my songs that I have recently featured. And again, Kells, I couldn't do it without you, love. My girl. So, good evening, everybody. Thank you all for joining us, for supporting me and letting me be a part of your evening. Most of you are probably not used to me going live so late in the evening, but that's how I wanted to feature that song. And so I don't know why I can't see my New York picture up here, but Kells will figure it out another day. I just took an ibuprofen to get rid of the headache that I got. So we're going to leave that alone. I'll figure it out. Let me say good evening to my babies. Miss T, Lady Mysterious, Yvette Stewart, and Linda Parson. Good evening, y'all. Miss Kim, good evening. Miss Wanda and Pamela, hey, y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Ed, my girl, you better be laying down relaxing because I told you not to come up here tonight. So you being a knucklehead. But I love you too, boo. Y'all make sure, I'm dead ass. Y'all go see Kelly Kells. She's not with the mess. She's not with the nonsense. Like I said, she's a professional chef. She be up on her page doing the damn thing with the food. She gives you different ways, especially for the mothers that's tired of cooking the same thing. Kelly got you, okay? And like I just told you, she has the patience of a saint. So she gonna make sure that y'all put something pretty on your table. Right? Okay. All right. So this evening I wanted to do something a little different. I wanted to go to a different state. I want to get off Detroit because Detroit has put me in a state of mind that yeah, it's not healthy. So I said, let me go somewhere else. And I laid down to take a nap earlier, but I had YouTube playing. And this really handsome picture popped up on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, who is that? But it said that he was executed. And I'm like, what? So I sat up and I watched the story of it. And I said, oh, wow. Oh, wow. So I said, you know what? I am going to research this. I got up, came to the computer, and I said, yeah, I'm about to research that. So that's what I did. And I don't know if it came up in the thumbnail, y'all. Listen, we learning, okay? And I love y'all so much for supporting me in all of my ignorance through this whole struggle, but I'm gonna be all right. The young man that I'm talking about, his name was Christopher Young, and he was executed July 17th of 2018. Now, if you guys don't mind, I'd like to read the notes I um that I made earlier. After 12 years on death row, Christopher Young's sentence was carried out. But we have to revisit all the good, bad, and the ugly. The child and the young man that Texas deemed an animal that needed to be put down instead of rehabilitated. Or could he be? Hello, La Leslie? Hey, mamas. How are you? Thank you for joining me and us. Thank you for letting me be a part of your evening. Thank you so much. His story starts not as you may think. There's no pools of blood or blaring police lights. In San Antonio, Texas, lived a young genius. He could hear a melody and he could play it back with his violin. Anything, anything he heard, he could play it back. Any song, any melody he heard. Christopher played chess like any seasoned professional because despite the traumas he suffered behind closed doors, he was still a good kid. And Christopher's father was his sun, his moon, his stars, and his hero. And so because of his father, he knew how to work that cello and that violin and play chess until his father was suddenly gone. See, street violence left Christopher lost, lonely, angry, and confused. His confidence disappeared. He was 8 years old. Hey, Miss Parker. Thank you for joining us, boo. He was 8 years old. His father's name was Willard Young. Now, what started to happen after his father passed was his mother's boyfriends became abusive, and it was not only with Chris, it was with his sister too. And these boyfriends, if they were not physically abusive, they were sexually abusive, right? And without warning, Christopher's foundation had just shattered. It just shattered. Hello, Special K. Thank you for joining us. Rhapsody, thank you, boo. Thank y'all for letting me be a part of your evening. I'm trying not to be here for too long, but I think once I tell you guys this story, y'all are really gonna be like, damn. So I thought it was worth bringing something different. So, like I said, once his father had passed away, and he passed away from street violence, right? There in San Antonio, Texas. And like I said, without warning, Christopher's foundation just shattered. Things started happening to him that brought on the darkness, though. And nobody took their time. Nobody took the time to see that something's going on with who they had already deemed a genius. So, with everybody turning a blind eye to what we would think that would be obvious, you know what I mean? He's put the violin down and he hasn't touched a chess piece since. But his mother was so busy appeasing her boyfriends and not paying attention to even what's happening with her daughter, let alone her son, he turned to the streets. And his uncle took him in, his father's brother. But his father's brother wore that red rag. Y'all know what I'm saying. And so he followed his uncle, who, just took him under his wing, protected him. It's just unfortunate that he showed him a different way of life, one that an 8-year-old had no business seeing. And so that guidance, however, didn't last, because after not too long, his uncle was charged and was sentenced to 50 years in prison. Now, I told y'all in the beginning, this is Texas. And these are black men, right? So at this point, now Christopher is now a young, angry, dark man. Christopher turns to drugs and violence, and he dropped out of school in the 9th grade. So he went from 8 years old to the 9th grade, running with the red rags, right? And so by then, he started, running the streets and messing with girls and all that kind of stuff. And that's when his girlfriend, Shala, came along. And not too long after they became a couple, she became pregnant. Now, like I said, he's diving into these drugs and into this alcohol, and he's a full-blown cocaine addict, full-blown. He's willing to do anything he can to get it, anything he can to have it, including beat up his girlfriend and take her money. Yeah, he did that. Christopher Young, he did that. Because, see, y'all got to remember the violins and the cello and the bass, they're gone. And he had no desire to play chess. His foundation was shattered. So, along with the addictions and the alcoholism, he's starting to accumulate arrests. And so, by 2004, he's not only violent with his girlfriend, but his past with his mother's boyfriends, it's all starting to come back, because while he's drunk or while he's high, that all plays in his mind, and he thinks that he can hear his father talking to him, and he looks in the direction and he realizes his father's not there. And so he's lonely and dark all over again. And then it got to the point where he couldn't even sleep. He was just always angry. Always mad, because nobody was trying to pour into him. They only wanted Christopher for what Christopher could do for them. The guys in the street. See, once his uncle was gone, there was nobody to say, not him. That's my nephew, respect him. There was no guidance. Not in the right direction anyway. There was none. And so him being one of the younger ones of the crew, yeah, he was the run, do that. Run, get that. Show me what you can do. And so he started being in and out of jail, and his mother just totally abandoned him to the streets, and she really didn't care. So then he became violent with her. There was a time, some of his family members said in the courtroom that all he really wanted was for her to apologize. And she would instead call him all kind of names and curse at him and tell him, fuck out my face. You out there in them streets. You don't need no apology from me. Whatever my man did to you, you deserved it anyway. You should have did what he told you to do. Okay, so what can y'all imagine she said to his sister, right? Okay. So this one particular night, him and Chala got into it. And he beat her up. And he ran. And when he ran, he happened upon this apartment complex. And he was sitting in the bushes, and he's just watching, where he sees this female. Her name's Daphne Edwards. Well, of course, he didn't know that at the time. He just sees a female walking out of her apartment, and she just walks out the complex a short ways up the street to go to the store to get her a pack of cigarettes. When she returned, she went in. She had left her two girls in the apartment sitting at the dinner table eating dinner. She said, I'll be right back. The store was right next to the apartment complex. So she's like, I'll be right back. And when she came back, they were still sitting at the table. So before she could sit down, though, she hears at the door. She thinks it's her sister. So without looking, Daphne opens up the door. And when she opened the door, she was met with a chrome weapon right in her face. So, of course, she backs up. She's like, what are you doing? What do you want? You can have whatever you want. And she literally emptied her purse in front of him. You could take it all. He grabbed her money. He grabbed all her money. He said, this ain't enough. It was only $28. That's all she had. He said, well, this ain't enough. You're going to have to give me something else. And she looked at him and she said, please don't do that. Don't do that. Now, she only lived in a studio apartment. That's all she can afford, a single mother of two kids. Good evening, Talking with G. Thank you for joining us and allowing me to be a part of your evening. Thank you so much. So she said she could see the look in his eyes, and she said she looked at him and she said, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Because see, y'all got to remember, in a studio, where's he going to send the kids? Her daughters. Where's he going to send them? Y'all, her daughters sat at the table and watched as he actually assaulted her. And when he was done, he got up and he said, put this on. And it was something a little more exposing, right? He said, me and you about to go. She said, I'm not leaving my babies here. He said, oh, yes, you are. You just did. And she's like, what do you mean? He said, I saw you when you went to the store. You left him alone then. And in his demented mind, he thought he was doing something cool. He walked over to the girls and he kissed them on the cheek and said, Mommy will be right back. So she grabs her keys and they jump in her car. And at the entrance exit of the apartment complex, he has her drive out of the complex. I guess he was assuming that he was being smart and didn't want to be seen on the cameras or whatever he was thinking. But he had her drive them out of the apartment complex to like the entrance of it. And he said, okay, I want to drive. So as she waits until he's getting out of the driver's seat, she gets out of the passenger seat. No, she gets out the driver's seat. And while he's getting in, she runs. She runs. Her cousin lives in the apartment complex as well. He didn't even bother to chase her. He just jumped in her car and took off. And he happens to go to that same store where it's owned by a Middle Eastern 55-year-old man that went by the name of Hash Patel. He owned the store. He was a well-known and loved and appreciated man. He was married with one son. That store was their bread and butter. That store was how he took care of his family and how he was appreciated within the community. He would let the moms get credit. He would be patient with them while they paid it back. And he would let the kids come in after school and get penny candy and stuff like that. Y'all remember those days. At least I know I had that kind of store when I was growing up. And so Christopher he walks in and he's like, yo, empty the register. Of course, he's got the weapon in his hand and he says, empty the register. So Patel couldn't get over to the register quick enough. He couldn't. And so Christopher emptied two in him. However, Christopher didn't see him hit that panic button. And so the alarm goes off. Well, he tries to get the register open, but he couldn't. So he tucked the weapon and he runs out. And there's a lady named Hattie Helton sitting in her car. And there's a man named Raul Vasquez that's sitting in his car. And they both hear the weapon go off. And they both, one runs into the store and one runs to the payphone. And they call the police. He was arrested. Right? He was arrested. Ken Green says, me too. Washington, D.C. was very different. What do you mean, Kim? What are you talking about? I don't see what you're referring to. So he was arrested, and of course, they tested his clothing and all of that kind of stuff. And the steering wheel tested positive for, oh, okay, got you. I had a story like that. Okay, got you, boo. Sorry. And so, the steering wheel tested positive, his clothing tested positive, his hands, right? And hello, Sonia. Thank you for joining us this evening. And even some of the keys on the cash registers tested positive for gunshot residue. So he was arrested and he was convicted. And he was sentenced to the death penalty. And so he was sent to the Pulaski unit in Livingston, Texas, where there was no contact, silence, devastating quiet, right? Devastating. Like he said that he was expecting, because he gives an interview during a certain point before his demise. And he said that he was expecting it to be loud and boisterous and chaotic and almost the sounds of animalistic behavior. But he said, no, there was none of that. He said he had to get used to the quiet because his life had been so chaotic. So he had prepared himself to go up in that jungle and just fit right in, because that is how his life had been since he was 8 years old. 8 years old. And so he said when he realized how quiet it was. It took him a while, but he got used to it. And the only time that he really found a problem was when he was trying to sleep. Linda, your baby said hi to Miss Sean B. Tell him I say hi, babies. Mwah, 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 mwah. Tell him Sean B sends them kisses. Yes. Tell him I say hi and good night and sleep good and be good for mommy. And so he said that that's when it was the hardest for him, was when he was trying to sleep. He had gotten used to it, being quiet during the day. But at night when he was trying to sleep, he said, "Oh, that was really crazy, because it was way too quiet at that point, because even the COs aren't walking around as much, because there are no trays to give out. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of thing. Like at night, there's no movement, right? At least during the day, you'll hear some kind of movement, because it's breakfast, lunch, and dinner trays, and it's people going out for their hour of recreation, or that sort of thing. There was none of that. So sooner or later, he meets this man named Reginald Blandon. Now, mind y'all, this is Death Row. Okay, Sonya. Thank you, boo. Catch that replay, baby. But he meets this man named Reginald Blandon, and it didn't say what Blandon was, what his specifics were, but it's Death Row, so we already know he's committed some atrocities like that, right? But he was surprisingly familiar to Christopher, and lo and behold, they were from the same neighborhood. You talking about your life coming full circle, but on Death Row? But see, there was a twist, because Reginald carried the blue rag. And so on the streets, y'all already know they would have been enemies. But see, up in here, it's just two black men waiting to take that final walk. And so the only color that they wore were white. Yeah. And so Reginald, having been there way longer than Chris, he started to show Christopher what was and what wasn't his fault. Right? The man had a certain kind of discernment that he could see how troubled Christopher was. And this man was so at peace with his wrongdoing. And so I can only assume that he said, well, I need to help this brother find his peace too, because there's no way out of here. We're two black men. We're two black men. This is Texas. Y'all hear me? Okay. Absolutely, Sonya. A lot of past trauma. And I'm glad you asked that, because I need you to know, because I am going to ask you guys a question when I'm finished with my commentary. And then whomever wants to come up on stage, please join me. Let's talk about it, right? And so Reginald, recognizing that Christopher Young is struggling with a whole lot, he's gotten through the quiet, and he's brought himself to a place where now, the struggle is different. Hey, Miss Steptoe, how you doing? Thank you, boo, for coming through. Special. Is it Spec or is it Special K? Let me know. 628. Is it Special K or just Spec? Never know what people are going through. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? And so, like I said, he the only way that he could, which was talking through the vent, and they would slide each other notes under the door whenever they could. Or sometimes, a CEO that wasn't a jackass would slide their notes back and forth and help them trade books and that sort of thing. And so, excuse me, Reginald he's working with them, and sooner or later, Christopher Young, he can distinguish between what he did and what was done to him. What was his fault? Yes, Special K, that's what I thought, Lou. And what wasn't his fault, right? And so he's starting to mature. He's starting to replenish and strengthen his foundation. He's starting to sit up straight and stick out his chest a little bit. He's starting to feel like a man. He's learning how good it feels, how accountability makes you feel. Now, he's not losing sight of what he did, and in fact, remorse is starting to set in, because the layers of hurt, of trauma, of struggle, of darkness, and mean and mad, all that's dropping off of him slowly but surely. And while all of that's dropping off of him, he's replenishing himself with assurance and confidence and accountability. But y'all, as cruel as the universe could be, in 2009, Reginald's sentence was carried out. And so, once again, Christopher is left alone. But see, God is such a mighty God that this time, Christopher was left whole and full and confident, assured, knowing, and remorseful. And with all of that good stuff, Christopher becomes a mentor, right? He becomes a mentor to others. He starts writing books and creating programs that are taken out into the community that are used with the youth and things of that nature, because while he's going through this growing process, he realized himself that, damn, this is death row. Why didn't somebody tell me about this? Why didn't them red rags tell me what consequences look like? Like this. Right? And so he said, no. We need to start letting them know what's for real, because this is Texas. And he was even at the point he had gained or garnered so much respect and admiration that he was even preventing or stopping confrontations between the COs and the inmates, because this is death row. And so when they first got there, of course, they had to go through the transformation of acceptance like he did. And so there were undoubtedly confrontations. And he had so much respect that he could talk them down. He could either talk to the COs or talk to the inmate, right? And so with that happening, the store owner Patel, his mother had the sons, the Patel's wife had spoken to the son on her deathbed and said, listen, what are we going to do? What do you want to do? Do you really want that young man at the age of, I think he was 37, 34, 37, something like that? Do you want him to face the penalty? You know your father would not agree with that. And he said, okay, Mom. So his son, Patel's son, went to the parole board and he tried to appeal to them. They wrote letters upon letters, and his mom and him, while she is sick and inevitably about to go herself, they are meeting literally with Governor Abbott, Greg Abbott of Texas. And they have collected letters from the outside, from the clergy and people from the neighborhood where the store was at, and just all kind of stuff. People who knew Mr. Patel that could speak to what they knew he would not want. Even some of the COs at the prison and some of the staff members and even some of the inmates wrote letters speaking about how he helped them, right? But undoubtedly, Chris had made peace. He had made peace, and now it's 2018, and he's going up before the clemency board with his lawyers to argue why he should be given a stay of execution. And so Christopher had made it clear to them that I've made peace with what I did. He told them, he said, Chala, my girlfriend, who I still love very much, and she was there, did not deserve what I did to her. He never got to see the baby born. He got to see her later on during this process. He didn't see his daughter as a baby. And it didn't speak about the other kids. It only talked about the one she was pregnant with. However, in the story, these other two girls comes along. So it's 3 girls, but where they were conceived and born, it just wasn't in the story. It wasn't in any research that I found. And so he made sure that the clemency board understood that not only was he at peace, and he knows that what he did was wrong, he took total accountability. With tears, he apologized to his mother. He apologized to Chala. And he apologized to Daphne. They were all there. And they're sitting there with tears in their eyes. Tears in their eyes. And they too were begging Abbott not to do it. And so I don't know if y'all know how it goes. Y'all done seen it in movies, and it's very much just like it. It depicts real life. They have to go and wait for a decision. And so they ask him to come back up and ask him if he have anything else he wants to say, and he says yes. He said, in 2003, there was a man by the name of Thomas Bart Whitaker. Now, Thomas Bart Whitaker was a white man. And Mr. Whitaker had hired somebody to take out his father, his mother, and his brother. He sat down and he meticulously took notes and followed their routines and time-stamped everything. And he made a sketch of the house and where his father is usually sitting and where this cabinet full of, weapons are, and where the mama's bedroom is, all of that. Oh, he laid it out for the person that he hired. And they carried it out. Only the father lived. And he did it for the inheritance. Y'all heard that? Inheritance. That's why he did it. He sat back and he premeditated the unaliving of his father, his mother, and his younger brother for the inheritance. And he was on death row. However, when his lawyers went before the clemency board, he got a stay of execution. And his sentence was overturned, and he was then given life without the possibility of parole. See, so he'll never be free, but he's alive. Sonia says, money is the true root of all evil. The love of money is the true root of all evil. Yes, ma'am. And so that is the case that Christopher Young recited to the clemency board and Greg Abbott. And they told him, very good, thank you. Just, wanted to hear if you had any final words. Whitaker has sat in prison from 2003 to 2018, right? When Christopher's attorneys went to Greg Abbott, he said, this is different. Now, Abbott didn't have the balls. He didn't have the gall. He didn't have the guts to say, yeah, it's different. He's black and my boy's white. He didn't have the guts to say that. So he left it at, this is different. He did not take anything into consideration. Nothing at all. Absolutely nothing. Right? Nothing. Nothing about his trauma. Nothing. Nothing about the abuse. Nothing. Nothing. And so he denied. He denied his stay of execution, the request for his stay of execution. He denied it. And so he was sent back to death row. He was sent back to death row. And he didn't ask for anything special for his last meal. Nope. He sat and he had meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and corn, just like everybody else. Just like everybody else that was on death row. He didn't want any special privileges. He didn't want to be seen that way. So he sat there and he ate really slow. And bite after bite. And yeah. They took him. They took him in, strapped him down, and put the needle in his arm. Sure did. And Christopher Young was gone. I am trying, sis, I'm trying. I'm trying. I don't know why it's not going. Okay. I'm trying, boy. Oh, God. I done forgot how the hell to do it. Oh, my goodness. Why is this not working? I am pressing invite. I want to add. I don't understand why this isn't going. Oh, it says you're not connected, Sonia. Device is not connected. I don't know. I don't know what that means. They will need to connect their mic or cam before you can add them to the stream. That's what it is. It's not me, it's you, boo. Sonia, it says device is not connected. But if anybody wants to come up, y'all come on so we can talk about it. Is it because he was a monster? Or was it because he was black? What do y'all think? Do y'all think he should have been given life with or without parole? Or did he get what he deserved? Black, white, or indifferent? How do y'all feel? No comments, no nothing. Well, I tell you, y'all sure do make it hard for a girl. Alrighty then. Well, that is cool. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Well. It is what it is.
Yeah. Sean B on YouTube. Ooh, yeah. Late night on the screen, got the city lights low. Sean B bringing truth to the stories below. From New York with grace and a mind so wise, she can see through the dark, she can read through the lines, every clue, every name, every twist, every turn. She be digging down deep till the realness burns. For the ones left behind, for the pain unseen, she be lifting those voices in between the scenes. So like, share, subscribe, let the real ones roll. Sean B on the case, going straight for the soul. On YouTube she shines, bringing truth to the few. When the world stays quiet, she comes breaking through. Like, share, subscribe, let the story breathe. Sean B got the light that the people need. Ooh, Sean B, true crime, baby. Tune in and watch the truth speak.
I appreciate you guys, and I love you after that.